want to talk about economics, Greenville, and AI, bring those ideas together. To start out, I want to ask, are you getting paid appropriately? So lots of younger folks here starting their careers, mid-career in Greenville. Is Greenville the right place to get paid an adequate and appropriate salary? I'm going to tell you the answer is no. I mean, if the answer was yes, I wouldn't have been invited to come speak. So the answer is no. And here's this common story that we get about Greenville. This is the economic growth of Greenville over the very long term, from 1700 until today. And this is pretty accurate. This is what GDP growth for Greenville has looked like. And it's pretty phenomenal. It's a great story. Greenville today is very wealthy and very rich, right? The city governments, the county governments, we've got tons of wealth in Greenville. This is the version that you don't see very much. This is real wages in Greenville versus the rest of the country. So the jagged line is Greenville, and the straight line is the US average. So since 1970, we have been below the national average. We peaked in about 1995 at about 90% of the national average. Now just keep that in mind. The national average is the average. That's a C. That's not an A. So we got as close as 90% of a C. And since 1995, real wages compared to the national average has been declining. We're not keeping up with the rest of the United States. By the way, just to throw this out there, South Carolina is currently ranked 47th out of 51 in the country in terms of real wages. Russell Stahl put together an AI where he collected the strategic plans since 1907, and I asked that AI some questions. So it's read every strategic plan for economic growth and development since 1907, and this is a summary of what it taught me, that Greenville has prioritized GDP growth and has placed secondary priority on real wages. So the chart's not really surprising if you look at our own economic strategies. So we're kind of right on track. Now, in 2010, if you have very high unemployment, any job is better than no job. I get that. You're not competing with the rest of the country. We're at full employment today. So the question is what should we be doing now in the era of artificial intelligence? First idea from economics, there's this concept called path dependence. Path dependence is this idea that once you start a bowling ball rolling down the lane, if it's halfway down the lane and it realizes it's going to miss the pin, it can't turn. So path dependence is usually a bad thing, right? Path dependence is a way in which many economies throughout the world and throughout history are constricted from making changes, right? It's inertia. So we need to be aware of our path dependence. So to do that, I'm going to do the fastest flyby, treetop level economic history of Greenville ever, okay? So I'm going to divide history up into pre-Revolutionary War, Revolutionary to Civil War to World War II, and World War II to today, okay? So we're going to get the big picture of economic history of Greenville. Pre-Revolutionary War, nobody lived here. The historians say that the Cherokee the nation lived over by Seneca, the Catawba lived over on the other side of the Enoree, closer to North Carolina, and this was a joint hunting ground. The two nations said, nobody lives here and we won't fight over it, we'll just hunt together. So really no population, economic activity was hunting. Then after the Revolutionary War, there's this creation of this state called South Carolina. There's massive war debt, and they don't have any way to pay the debts. So one of the things they do is they sell the land up here in the upstate. So now some people are up here because they got their debts paid in land. They build a road. There's no productivity going on here. There's no economic activity. So they build a road, the Buncombe Road, from Greenville up to North Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee. They build the Augusta Road from Greenville down to Augusta. And now economic activity can pass through Greenville. And we've got these awesome rivers. So the very beginnings of the economy here are grist mills and manufacturing carts to facilitate the trade up and down the road. By the 1830s, the historians say there were 36 mills in Greenville. So our earliest days of a productive economy are mills because of our water. Next, between the Civil War and World War II, first of all, right after the Civil War, lots of poverty, lots of people from the low country are coming up to the upstate because we do have the mills and we have some economic activity. So we've got lots of people who don't have any wealth come up to the upstate. We've got this tradition of mills. The New England mill owners come down and start to invest. And so we start to create this ecosystem of mills. We have the trains coming in, so we've got tremendous transportation infrastructure. We've got investment coming in from the north, and we become the textile manufacturing capital of the United States, and we self-proclaim of the world. Probably true, who knows? Cotton is king throughout the South. It comes up here, and that's the growth. Lots of people come up, textiles and investment. And finally, after World War II, the South Carolina competes on low wages with the rest of the United States very well, but then globalization and free trade happens, and there are places around the world that can provide cheaper labor than South Carolina. So textiles leaves, but we successfully diversify. We bring General Electric in to build jet engines, we bring BMW and Michelin in, and we diversify the manufacturing economy. Okay, that is 300 years of economic history in about 3 minutes. So our path is that we have labor supply leading manufacturing growth. We have workers, and then we get growth. That's our path. And if you look at headlines today, this is one quote that I just grabbed from the South Carolina Manufacturing Alliance. The workforce shortages remain the most pressing concern for manufacturers in South Carolina. We're on this trajectory of feeding growth by getting workers. And we're at full employment. And the manufacturers of South Carolina need more workers. Meanwhile, by the way, lots of Clemson students here today, Clemson's best and brightest get exported out of the state. They come from all over the country to come to Clemson, to come to Furman, to come to USC, and they graduate and then they leave the state. So we need factory workers, and we export our college graduates. So now let's switch. So that's Greenville. Let's talk about artificial intelligence. The way I want you to think about artificial intelligence is the factors of production, second economic term for the night. Any output that is created with some combination of capital and labor. Very simple. Capital and labor are the primary factors of production. So in the last 20 years, capital's share has been increasing. And it can only total 100%. So if capital is increasing, labor is decreasing. Artificial intelligence is increasing the pace at which capital is replacing labor. Now, if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, because it's happening anyways, whether we like it or not. Capital's share of production is replacing labor. So, Darren Acemoglu, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics just this past year, says 3 things are going to happen: job elimination, job reinstatement, and job creation. We need, in any place, in any industry, in any geography, that's going to happen in different ratios, but it's going to happen. So what's going to happen here in Greenville? So these 3 economists have come up with this idea that I really like, that said all tasks of jobs, so don't think about jobs, but think about tasks, All tasks within jobs are either prediction related or judgment related. So it's either prediction or a task in a highly predictable environment. Those jobs are highly likely to become automated. Jobs which require human judgment, or tasks that require human judgment, are less likely to become automated. Okay, super helpful framework. Think about automation as the computer is better than us, the robot is better than us at prediction in highly predictable environments. So, Andreessen Horowitz, Aaron Price Wright came up with this a couple weeks ago. AI is creating the full stack engineer. So the full stack engineer, as of a bunch of software engineers in the back, I recognize you all. A full stack engineer used to mean you go from data to user interface. As of now, as of, let's say, January 2025, a full stack engineer is somebody who can go from hardware to software. That's the future of engineering. Full stack engineering now means hardware and software, okay? So that means Clemson is super well positioned to prepare the workforce that we need in South Carolina. We don't need to export anymore. And Greenville Tech is in a great place to provide the workforce that we need. And USC and Furman, I hate saying USC, but I have to say it, I guess, right? I'm Clemson loyal. USC Upstate, we are in a great place. We've got educational institutions that are perfectly situated for this. We don't need Stanford, MIT software engineering anymore. We need electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and the techs that go through Greenville Tech that know how to adapt to new technologies. So the analogy that I love to think about is electricity. Imagine you're running a manufacturing plant in the year 1900. So you've got a steam engine and you've got oil burning lights and you're manufacturing something. Maybe you're in Greenville and you're manufacturing textiles. And a salesperson comes and knocks on the door and says, hey, there's this really thing called electricity. Do you want to buy some? Right? You shrug your shoulders. You're like, you know what? It seems cool. It seems revolutionary. It will change everything. It's general purpose and will change the world. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it today. That's the between times, and that's where we are today with artificial intelligence. In manufacturing, in the upstate, we know that artificial intelligence is going to change everything. We just don't know what it's going to look like yet. We're in the between times, and that's okay. We didn't know what to do with electricity either. And today we don't know what to do with artificial intelligence. We just know it's a game changer. So Greenville, in the era of AI, there is no better place to be. We have manufacturing wisdom. I grabbed a video from BMW, which I love. We have manufacturing wisdom. We have manufacturers that are totally invested to us and to our community. We've got great schools that can do hardware-based engineering, and this is a great place to live. Number 4 in this year's U.S. News and World Report rankings of greatest places to live, but you pick a publication and we're ranked as one of the best places to live. We have a comparative advantage, and I just threw that in there. If you're not going to come here to do this, you're going to go to Ohio? Right? There are people from Ohio that are here tonight, I'm sure. I don't know how many people from Greenville are in Ohio tonight, right? This is the place you want to be. But think about it. We're not competing against Silicon Valley. We're competing against Columbus, Ohio, and Detroit, Michigan, right? And we've got this great advantage, but we've got a decision to make. We've got to make it quickly. There might be a 200,000 manufacturing worker shortage in South Carolina right now. And those manufacturing firms, they want those people. But if we fill those jobs, that means we're going to be importing those folks because South Carolina is at full employment. And then within 5 years, the tasks related to those jobs are going to be automated. And what have we just done to those workers? So we have a choice. Do we continue on our current path of increasing the labor supply? Increasing the labor supply keeps us competitive by throwing labor at the problem, and it keeps our wages low compared to the rest of the United States. Or do we get off of the path that we're on and adopt automation and technology? So 3 tasks. If you work for BMW or Michelin, or if you're in industry, or if you're at Clemson, or if you're at USC, develop labs immediately. I know lots of people are talking about developing labs for innovation for next generation of manufacturing, Industry 4.0. Can't do it in 2028 and 2029. Do it immediately. We need the innovation. We can do it here. We need it quickly. Second, if you don't work at one of those companies, but you're inspired by these ideas, in the last 24 months, venture capital has put $18 billion into early stage companies in building the next generation of AI automation. $18 billion in 24 months. So call up 2 of your friends and go start a company. Reach out to NextGen, ask them for help and how you do this. Or if you are working at one of the big manufacturing companies and you've got an idea, quit, go start a company, call up your friends, and go do this. Third, if you are working in government, city, county, state government, or if you're government affiliated, of the $18 billion invested over the last 24 months, 200 companies received more than $10 million. Let's go get 5 of those 200 companies to open an office in Greenville. That would be massively transformational for us. Massively transformational. Just go get 5. Now, we're good at recruiting companies to the upstate because we give them tax incentives for land and tax incentives for every 100 employees. These companies don't want land and they're not going to hire 100 employees. They want happy employees, and we can do that in Greenville. This is a great place to be. We can go get 5 of those 200 companies to open offices here. We're in this era now where 5 people can do the work of 50. And if that's going to continue, then we've got some choices to make. Do we stay on our current path and go out and recruit 200,000 workers? Do we prioritize aggregate growth? Do we prioritize, instead of aggregate growth, do we prioritize real wages for our workers? Actually, I'm going to suggest there's a third alternative on what we prioritize. We are in the between times, and somebody needs to figure out what the future of manufacturing looks like. If we prioritize that, we will solve all of those problems, and this is the best place to work on that problem. So let's figure out innovation in the next generation of manufacturing. Thank you.